Good evening. It is Tuesday, February 11th of 2025. This is the Stoughton City Council, and the first order of business would be the roll call. Clerk Kristen.
Okay. Excuse me, Lagaki.
Here.
Wozniak Scanlon. I see her online.
Here.
Thank you. Nino
Here.
Mayaski.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Sherlucky.
Here.
Butler.
Here.
Hirsch.
Here.
Thank you. Did Alders Caravello or Peyton arrive?
Not so far.
Okay, I don't see him online. So we have 8 Alders present, and we have 4 Alders absent and excused.
Okay, thank you. We are certified of compliance with open meeting laws, and we do have one person signed up for public comment, and that would be Sharon Mason-Borsma is here tonight. Come on up and just push the button, red light will come on, and you have about 3 minutes, give or take a little bit. You're good, yep.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for letting me do this tonight. My name is Sharon Mason-Borsma. I live at 243 East McKinley, Stoughton, and I'm the co-director of the Stoughton Resettlement Program. And I think I gave all of you a pamphlet like this. As co-director of the Stoughton Resettlement Assistance Program, that's our full name, also the acronym is SRAP, work has taken place for many local and area community members to help legal immigrants of humanitarian parolee status seek a home in the Stoughton community through efforts to elevate stability, economic opportunity, and independence. This was formed, it's a nonprofit organization formed in January of 2022, and it's a nonprofit organization. And they saw a need to aid and advocate those facing warlike conditions in other countries, such as Ukraine and Venezuela. Currently in Stoughton, 19 families live here, including 22 children. They've all been legally resettled in the city of Stoughton. They seek to maintain their new living quarters, obtain gainful employment, desire an education for their children in our Stoughton schools, and proudly sell their products at the local farmers market. We did this summer, this past summer, and we're going to do it next summer. And they continue to assimilate every day in this community and area as we get to know them and they get to know us. Used by Republican and Democratic presidents since 1956, humanitarian parole is a legal authority to respond to humanitarian crises around the world. 2 sponsorship programs, Uniting for Ukraine and Uniting for Venezuela, allowed Americans to help families in need of refuge to arrive here in an orderly, safe, and legal way that most of our resettlers use for transition. Currently, the Department of Homeland Security has shut down these 2 organizations and issued a notice to direct immigration officials to review cases of individuals currently in the United States on humanitarian parole status. Consideration exists if termination of their parole status should take place. There may be the process of removing them from the United States. I would encourage and be grateful to all of you for contacting local, state, and U.S. legislators to voice your opinion to help protect the legal immigrant individuals and families living in Stoughton, in Wisconsin, and in the United States that have legally resettled their lives to come here and make this their home. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to communications and presentations. And President Schumacher is absent tonight. So we have two guests tonight that are going to come up and speak about the Spread Goodness Day. Sarah and Andrea are here, and you can come on up. This might be new to some of us here.
Testing. Yay, works. Hi, everybody. My name's Sarah Tash, and I'm actually a Evansville resident. This is my friend Andrea.
Hi, I'm Andrea Hansen, and I'm a Stoughton resident.
So we are here to share about Spread Goodness Day. Spread Goodness Day this year will be celebrated. It's always on the second Friday in March. It was started 8 years ago by a friend of mine named Anna Dravlin in Marquette, Michigan. It's an amazing event, but it's basically a marketing event. So on one specific day, we focus on goodness and kindness and things that we can do in our own world. So a couple years ago, Evansville kind of jumped on board, and I watched it grow and grow and grow. For example, all the kids would start wearing yellow, or they'd color bookmarks. You guys have bookmarks in front of you. We saw businesses want to get on board and start donating like Fosdal's donuts to our teachers. And really the idea is the more people that can talk about shifting their perspective to focus on what's good, it's just an amazing opportunity. So, some good news. Actually, do you want to share what happened in Stoughton last year?
All right. So last year in Stoughton, well, this will be our third year doing this. So the first year, we kind of came on board pretty close to when the actual Spread Goodness Day was. And so and I work for the school district, so the main focus was getting the word out to the schools and getting them on board. And so then last year, not only getting the schools on board, but also going around to the nursing home facilities and senior centers and things. So anyway, we're just continuing to spread wider and get the word out there more. And I did go around to the local businesses downtown too and put posters up in most people's windows, so which was really fun too.
Yeah, as I said, it's a big marketing kabalooza of yellow and smiles and sunglasses. We forgot to wear our sunglasses. Something to share that happened last year that was pretty cool. Our Governor Tony Evers signed a proclamation to make it a statewide official holiday. This was super exciting to get in the mail. It carries a lot of weight when you're talking about it on the news or talking about it in the newspaper, but it still takes people to do action, so to wear yellow or to think about kindness and goodness. The other thing I'm very excited about, our Evansville School District, this is the first year we actually have funding ahead of time. We have something called the Evansville Fund, and they approved $1,000 for Evansville this year. And in Stoughton, I have Laura Trotter with the Stoughton Senior Center. We'll have the McCloskey's band coming and performing. She said yes right away to paying for them, and I actually have a friend in Evansville. His name's Pat Carr. He's with Evansville Ford. I believe he's on a board meeting here. Anyways, he also offered to pay, so now we have like extra money to focus on Spread Goodness Day, and it's a really good day. You guys, most of you have these, but at the end of the day, if there's just two words to remember, it's the importance of showing one another that you matter. And it's a powerful reminder that when we do that, when we teach our kids that, how much we matter. So it kind of just grows exponentially, and that's why it's near and dear to my heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you for being here and organizing it again. It's always a good time. All right. So if you want to come over to the Senior Center on that Friday, you can visit with myself. We do the coffee with the mayor that day. The county executive, Melissa Agar, is going to be there that day. And then afterward, if you want to walk over to the other building, that's where the McCloskeys will be performing. And you better get there early. Last year it was packed. The coffee goes from 10 to 11:30, and the McCloskeys start at about 1. So you have a little time in between there. But it's always a good time there. And thank you again. You bet. move into our agenda. And the first item for
More
business.
communications, Mayor?
Oh, do we have communications? Go ahead.
Just a early, save the date, if you have your plan on possibly attending. Juneteenth is going to be celebrated this year, and it's going to be organized slightly differently. But it's going to be at the Stoughton United Methodist Church, Sunday, June 22nd. I'd like to say that is not Father's Day, and it is not Taste of Stoughton, and it is not Stoughton Pride in a busy June. Save the date, Sunday, June 22nd. More to come. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other communications from alders? Hearing none, we'll move into the consent agenda, and I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'd move to approve.
Motion by Jensen, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sherlucky. Would anybody like anything acted on separately? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Next item is going to be Ordinance 2 of 2025 for a second reading. This came from the Plan Commission. Alderperson Caravello. It's on item number 6, page 2.
And let me find the ordinance. Okay, this is Ordinance 2 of 2025, approving a planned development, general development plan for Lot 1 and 2 on CSM 14859, previously Eastwood Estates, Lot 15, and Eastwood Estates, Lot 14, Stoughton, Wisconsin, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Butler, Alderperson Caravello.
And I am going to let our planning director, if there's any questions about this one, but as we discussed this at last council meeting, just kind of cleaning something up to allow the buildings that are there to stay there.
Yeah, you might recall this is the one that was built and they weren't aware that we had a 50-foot width requirement for street frontage. So this is really just creating a planned development for those units that were already built most recently.
Yep.
Are there any questions on it? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. And then the next one is Ordinance 7, and this is in the same neighborhood.
And let's see, where is the ordinance? There it is. This is Ordinance 3 of 2025. Ordinance amending in the two-family residential 6th district, Chapter 78-105, Parent 7, Parent B, amending a minimum lot width and updating corresponding definitions added under Section 78-015, and I so move.
Is there a second on this one? Second by Alderperson Majewski, Alderperson Caravello.
And this is related to the previous item, just amending there were some strange definitions of lot widths, especially relating to street frontage when it comes to basically the shape of the lot. So this kind of clears up that language, which again allows the structures that are already built in Eastwood Estates to stay there.
All right, any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Next one is Ordinance 4 for a second reading, and that one is Public Safety, Alderperson Jensen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is Ordinance 4, 2025, an ordinance to amend section 70-22 controlled intersections, and I'd move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Hirsch. Alderperson Jensen.
Yes, this was approved by the Public Safety Committee on January 28th. Let's see, it was introduced on 28th. Let's see, February 11th, yeah, and it was introduced, introduced for first reading on February 11th. It is, the controlled intersection is Isham and South Page. It's a four-way stop. And I believe there's photos in here that'll give you a good idea of what it is. There has been increased traffic with the development of the new housing out in that area, so it was appropriate to put the four-way stop in there.
All right. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Next item is also from Public Safety, R5 of 2025, Alderperson Jensen. Item number 9.
Okay, yes, this is Resolution 5, 2025, resolution to approve a Class B beer and Class C wine license for BWEO Events LLC, and I would move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Legaki. Alderperson Jensen.
Yes, it was approved by Public Safety Committee on 1/22 of 2025 by a 5-0 vote. Pretty self-explanatory. Information's in the packet.
This is a kind of a banquet area located inside the SWAC.
Yep.
In case you were wondering if you want to book a party. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. Next item is R3 of 2025. This went through personnel and finance. Who would like to introduce this one?
I can.
Okay, go ahead.
This is R3 2025, discussion and possible action regarding the senior center part-time position of a senior center case manager. We would be combining 2 part-time positions into 1 full-time position. This is due to create some flexibility and consistency within that position, and also it would be paid for through the interest of the senior center's special gift fund. It all checks out, but AJ, is there anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah, the only thing that I really wanted to add to this is the difficulty not only for recruiting but retaining the staff in this position. The reason that you consistently see this position open is that we go through the recruiting effort, the individuals confirm that they want a part-time position, and then 6 months to a year we're hearing that the individual is going to be leaving because they found a full-time position elsewhere. That's now happened 4 times, and we really need to get somebody in there. Cindy will speak to how far back we are with our backlog in regards to case managers and the need for consistency, but also having availability Monday through Friday, regular business hours. We're not able to cover that with the existing part-time position. Cindy?
Yeah. Yep.
Anything you'd
Can
like
you
to
hear
add?
me?
Yep.
I think AJ hit it right on the head to find, to have some continuity for our clients, and also the extra stress that it puts on our other full-time people. They're each carrying at least 100 people, each of them do. We now have at least a 2-week waiting list, which last year we worked on a 2 to almost 3-week waiting list, just trying to find
people to cover that part-time position. We've gone through 4 different people in the last year and a half. So, it's been difficult, and it's put a lot of stress on our regular full-time people.
All right, thank you. So I think I heard a motion.
I didn't actually move it, but
Okay.
I would so move that we
Okay.
approve this.
Second.
Second by Nino. All right. Any discussion on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. And then there's a second resolution in here.
Mayor, that looks like a duplicate to me.
Okay, it's a duplicate?
Yes.
All right. That's what I was wondering. All right. And then, so we had item number 12 on there, and this one is actually meant to be on in 2 weeks. Item number 12 is the comprehensive plan resolution, because we had to do a public notice on that one. I don't know if we want to go through anything with it tonight. Lisa Moore is going to be conducting the comprehensive plan. She is online, but I don't know if she's prepared to speak to it. But basically, we just want to get it on everybody's radars, and we're looking for stakeholder groups. So if you know a group of people and you have contact information of community members that you think would like to participate and have a voice in the process, I know Lisa's open to gathering names and information of community members. Go ahead, Dave.
That isn't a duplicate resolution. The finance resolution amends the budget.
Okay. All right. I was wondering about that. I was looking at it, and they looked very similar, so we'll go back to that. So that's basically what's happening with the comprehensive plan. And it was introduced at the Plan Commission, and then we've been meeting with some other groups to get them involved. But we can go back to this other resolution here.
So is item 11 then to approve the position itself? And 10 does the finance aspect, Dave? Okay.
Okay. All right, so we'll go back to item number 11, then you want to introduce that one. Alder Sherlucky.
I can introduce it.
You want to, okay.
Sure.
Butler?
So this is R06 of 2025, Senior Case Center Manager position, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nino, okay. Alderperson Butler.
As we just discussed, this is the piece to fund the new position that is resulting from the combination of the 2 part-time positions. AJ, did you want to add anything?
I don't have anything additional. Thank you, though.
Yeah, as it mentions in the resolution, really the difference is the benefits, which hopefully will be enough to help retain that position for a while.
Please keep in mind, as we moved into the 25 budget, the individual that was in the position at that time was taking employee and spouse insurance, so that was factored in. That was also in my memo that was written to the Finance Committee, so we're actually sitting quite well with that.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Questions or comments on that one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed. All right, that carries. We talked a little bit about the comprehensive plan. The next one was Ordinance 5 of 2025, and that was coming from Public Safety for first reading. Alderperson Jensen.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, before I go any further on this, if you look at the ordinance, it was approved by the Public Safety back in September, and the chief gave me a call and kind of got lost on his desk, and so it's being introduced now as a first reading. So I'm going to request that we go, I'll waive the rules and go into the second reading. So I'd make that motion right now.
A motion to waive the rules?
Waive the rules.
All right.
It would be, our,
You gotta introduce it first. You have to introduce it first, and then you can't introduce.
that's, I'm sorry, yes, you're right.
Okay.
I apologize.
It's
All right.
okay.
So is the motion,
It's just abnormal.
Yeah,
hearing
I
that
forgot.
Tom and I know something more than you do.
Well, that's,
yeah,
yes, it is.
been studying your Robert's rules over there?
At least once before I leave.
Is there a
So I
second?
will read it as a first reading, and it is ordinance 5 of 2025, amending section 70-199 and 70-201 of Stoughton Municipal Code relating to the municipal parking lot, corner of Main Street and Forest Street. And this is a first reading, and I would like to waive the rules and go to a second reading simply because the police chief has asked for this to be done, so mainly because of the second item, which is the 70-201 4-hour parking, and this pertains to the charging station. People have been parking there for hours and hours and hours, and overnight even, and he wants to limit it to 4-hour parking. So without further comment, I'd make that motion.
Second.
Okay. All right, so the motion is to waive the rules. Is that, did I get that correct? Okay, and a second by Ninal.
No, Ladaki.
I'm sorry, Luckake. All right. And I don't remember if the motion to waive the rules is debatable.
I think it's,
I could pull out my
I
cheat
believe
sheet.
it's,
Yeah, but I think it takes a 2/3 vote.
Yeah, I think it's 2/3, but I don't know.
Okay.
it's 2/3.
I don't think it's
All right.
a
Any
debatable
discussion on waiving the rules? So that basically would mean we go right to the second reading, where normally it would be approved at the next meeting. All in favor of waiving the rules, say aye.
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 And then any opposed? That carries, so then it would
I would
become
have
a
to
second reading.
I would have to introduce it as a second reading. So this is a second reading for ordinance 5 of 2025, amending section 70-199 and 70-201, the City of Stoughton Municipal Codes relating to the municipal parking lot at the corner of Main Street and Forest Street, and I'd move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Luckake. All right, any more discussion necessary on this one?
I think so. I think it's covered.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed?
Thank you.
That motion carries. Okay, next item is coming from Stoughton Utilities, and this is ordinance 6 of 2025. And who should I be looking at right now? Stoughton Utilities is that Peyton?
It's me.
Okay.
I didn't know you were on.
Yeah, he's
I'm
hiding.
here. Just a little rusty. Okay. All right. Introducing the resolution or the ordinance to adopt modification, or I move to, dang, I am really, really off. I'm sorry.
It's a first reading too, by the way.
Okay, for the first reading, for introducing ordinance 6 of 2025 to adopt modifications to subsection, oops, nope, I'm on the wrong one. That doesn't help. Wait, am I at the right one?
Sounds right.
I'm seeing, oh yeah, utilities. Okay, I'm so sorry. Ordinance 6, 2025 to adopt modification to subsection 74-112 and 74-113, the City of Stoughton Municipal Code of Ordinances. I am introducing for first reading.
All right. And did you want to elaborate on it? We have two people here from Stoughton Utilities that are just looking like they want to talk about it.
I would turn it over to them. I wasn't at the last meeting, unfortunately.
All right.
Okay, so included in our 2025 budget, which you passed just a few months ago, was an 8% rate increase for our sewer rates. That has not changed. I did go through the sewer rate case process. The rate case shows that our rate increase should be higher, But as you recall, we're stepping into that because of the infrastructure projects that we have. So we're taking 8% this year, and then we have scheduled larger increases in 26 and 27. So for this year, the numbers that were presented at the 25 budget, again, have not changed. The average residential customer is going to see an increase of $2.65 on their sewer bill. That's if they use 4,000 gallons a month. This will have an effective rate of March 1st usage. Customers will see this on their April 8th bill. We did put a notice in the hub, I believe, and then also we put a message on our customers' bills that went out on February 8th, notifying them that this is coming before you tonight for the first reading.
All right. Are there any questions on this? All right, hearing none, it'll be back at the next meeting. We'll move on to the next item, which is Resolution 8 of 2025. And this one came from, it says CACP. I think Alderperson Legaki worked on this one with President Schumacher. Is that correct?
I did. I would have asked him to, since he was the primary writer. I was going to ask Brett to introduce this, but this is simply asking the council to approve what we believe is a strong proclamation on human rights and resolve it through Resolution 8 of 2025, and I so move.
Second.
And would you care to cover?
We had interesting discussion at CACP, and a beginning discussion. For now and for these times, we felt it was necessary to speak. Despite all of the details that we deal with as a council, despite what's going on bigger in our world and around us, we want to focus us on the dignity and the respect and the inclusion that we get reminded of various times. And so Brett put a wonderful resolution together, also noting other times where we have tried to act in light of what is going on in our world. And I love that goodness was talked about tonight, that we're being asked for our immigrants to help be their voice right now. And that voice can even speak many years later, because right now we're talking about wanting to protect some things of our very first Norwegian immigrant to Stoughton, Luke Stoughton. It takes all kinds of forms. So, in theory, we hope to have unanimous approval of this and welcome more discussion, which we could have here, or you could ask that CACP take further. But we would like to talk about, well, what does our action mean? We began talking about that. Is it an ad in well-placed newspapers and social media? Is it special recognition, and perhaps this gets read as a ritual at upcoming events? Who knows? But I'm going to stop speaking, open to discussion as you read through this about wow and how you reacted to what's going on now. I want our community to know that it's very important that we listen and we respond. And so what are your thoughts? Anything you'd like CACP to know, knowing that it will be asked to be on the agenda again in light of this being passed at this meeting?
Alderperson Nino?
Yeah, I probably could have shared this in communications, but I attended the legislative day hosted by the school district last week, and we heard from a panel of Stoughton high school students, and one of the really common things that came up was how important a sense of belonging was to them, to belong within our community, to belong within their classrooms and their schools, and to feel welcome and included here in our home is a really strong pathway to mental health and well-being to feeling safe. And I think that this is in line with that. This is in line with what I heard that day, and in line with what I think we need to be continuing to strive for in our community. We do have a very special community. I see the connections and the engagement, and I think this will help us continue to do that in a really positive way.
Thank you. Alderperson Hirsch?
I just want to thank the CACP for working on this so quickly. And I guess, I mean, when I was talking to Brett about developing this, I was impressed that it happened so quickly, and that you hit on all the parts that we were kind of conceiving, so I'm excited about that. But also the whole idea when I was initially talking to Brett is just that what Alderperson Nino said, is that during this time I really wanted somehow for the city council to convey that even though what is going on in the world, our community matters, and everybody that's here matters. Doesn't matter what race or gender identity or immigration status. We wanted everybody to still feel like this is their home and we have their backs. So with that said, I really would encourage this to go further than the common council, and that we take, in any action that we take in policy, that we keep this in mind. But I also would love it if each of the departments within the city would sign on to this, and any local businesses as well to start signing on to this. If we want our community to feel safe and welcome and to keep growing this community, we need all to work together.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts or comments? Alderperson Jensen.
I hate to do this, but I don't think Luke Stoughton was Norwegian. So that whereas it's about Luke Stoughton being Norwegian, I think we have to correct that. He was a Yankee from Vermont.
We can certainly update that.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, if we're going to go beyond Stoughton, it may be.
I can say at CACP, this may have gotten formatted incorrectly, but the idea was we wanted to make reference to the fact that Stoughton was founded by Norwegian immigrants, not just specifically Luke Stoughton. So perhaps it could be changed and amended that way.
Yeah.
But we celebrate our Norwegian immigration heritage, and we wanted to continue to celebrate that.
And Norwegian immigrants?
Yes.
Sure.
Excellent language that can be changed.
All right.
Overrun by.
Yeah. No, you can't give them a hard time about Robert's rules after that. Anybody else have any questions or thoughts or comments? Okay, so all in favor of the resolution as changed, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. Next item is discussion and possible action on the depot subcommittee. So I'll just start off by saying that this came up at the last council meeting, and since then there's been other meetings with the Historical Society. I met with them last Friday, and in the finance packet tonight you'll see a couple documents. One is a resolution, I think, that was put together by Brett. Did you work on that one too, Gene? For the Historical Society?
Thank you for bringing that forward to finance.
Yep, so that's at finance, and then there's also a document in there you might want to take a look at from the Historical Society, kind of their first crack at putting together kind of relocation plan. And when I met with Nancy, we discussed the subcommittee, and we came to an agreement that it would be best if the subcommittee was managed by the Historical Society for many reasons. One reason being then we don't have to comply with all the open meeting laws and all that. But they are looking for one or two city council members that would be willing to meet with them and participate in their discussions and bring that communication back to the full city council to keep the engagement going. So I told Nancy I would mention it tonight, and if anybody is willing and able to do that, we can circle back to her and see what if they've set up on some meeting dates. I think they typically meet in the early evening for an hour or two. So if anybody wants to volunteer now, you can. If you want to think about it and let me know, you can. But they certainly would like to have at least one council member participate in those discussions. Otherwise, I think what's going to happen is we move, closer to the time where they look at relocating. I think that the resolution that's in the finance packet, and then I would imagine there'll be updates to their relocation plan, and at some point, the council and the finance committee may be asked to commit to a dollar amount to support that efforts once we get a little bit more information. But those conversations are occurring, so we want to at least let you all be aware of that. Alderperson Legacki.
Thank you for bringing this forward. I had wondered, I had floated an idea out loud when we were dealing with the initial sale of the depot, and I found myself thinking about it a bit and wondered, I think that when the sale of the depot went through, I think some people only quoted some parts of Landmarks Commission duties and responsibilities. And I guess I have a couple of questions. One is, I think that there is, hopefully, I'm quite certain from my read, but I'm not certain community-wide that there is support to do this. And I don't know if we would need to form another group. I was going to float that if we were to volunteer for this, even though they are alders, it would not be officially an appointed group of the council or the mayor, and so they then will have different operating than open meetings laws and Robert's Rules of Order. But I was going to say that perhaps if this takes a while and we have transitions coming up, I would like to say that I plan to bring to Landmarks this coming Thursday at our meeting that it perhaps be within the purview of Landmarks to continue to advocate and bring forward these environs. These, it appears that it's just a naturally existing point, but yet if there needs to be a special group, no worries. Let's be task limited and get this done. But I would like to keep a nice watchful eye, and I believe that this is appropriate for Landmarks, and I wanted to include that in tonight's discussion. I think it should exist in our naturally existing committees and structure.
I guess I'm unclear of what you're proposing. You're saying that the Historical Society group to find a path forward to their new home should be part of the Landmarks?
No. The Historical Society should be their advocate, and it's appreciated, I would imagine.
Who's
and
advocate?
The Stoughton Historical Society.
Should be their own advocate.
They should be their own advocate, and the city is offering resources, which I think is a great idea, and also have that in that resolution. But rather than create another group and wonder about the reporting and needing to follow things, I'm suggesting that it appears something like this naturally exists within the purview of Landmarks Commission. Landmarks Commission does more than just speak to the conditions of appropriateness and the outside of buildings, and we have experienced that in advocating for the downtown historic district, in thinking about what can exist near and wanting to protect it as a whole. I have a feeling that Landmarks Commission would be open to making sure that an eye stays on this. And I honestly and respectfully want to say, wish it would have been more transparent at that time. But given where we are at, I think we are on a great pathway, and I don't feel the need to have to create a special group. But anyone who wants to advocate and come forward and try to make sure that we get on the right track on this, let's do that until this is finished and they have their monies in place. But I want to say I believe that falls within the scope of Landmarks to oversee and discuss and have it on their agenda. Is that clear, Regina?
Yeah, I guess I don't understand why Landmarks would be involved with a historical society move of their artifacts. I don't, I guess I'm not understanding that, but.
I'd like to say, and I get that, I'd like to say that perhaps one way of looking at it is somebody watching out for all of the environs of our historical places and historical items. Landmarks does more than approve permits. And I see it naturally falling there, but it is not their responsibility. I just think that that's natural eyes and said organization.
Anybody else have any thoughts or comments? I guess, I mean, on this one, I'm siding with Alderperson Hirsch on it. I think that the Landmarks purview is somewhat limited, you know, in my view. If individuals from Landmarks want to join their subcommittee, I would be fine with that. Some of them may already be members of the Historical Society, but I don't know if there's any Historical Society business that needs to be discussed at Landmarks unless it involves a historic building that they own, like the Luke Stoughton House, for example. I think their scope is limited, but that's kind of my opinion. I don't know if the city attorney has opinion on that based on the ordinances.
Yeah, like the Landmark Commission chapter, it basically talks about, you know, historic preservation of buildings and things like that in the historic districts or establishing landmarks. I mean, with that said, like a commission chair can put things on the agenda. It's just, you know, it ultimately just comes down to making a recommendation for other entities, and, you know, the council could consider a recommendation from Landmarks, but, you know, there's nothing wrong with approaching it of, you know, having one or two others go to the Historical Society's meetings where they're talking about their relocation plan. I agree that that wouldn't fall under the open meetings law. It's not creating city's not creating a commission or a committee at that point. It's just having a couple representatives attend a meeting to discuss a potential relocation plan.
Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Alderperson Jensen.
Yeah, Landmarks is authorized by state statute and our approval. So I don't see how you can separate that from being a city function. To have them just be coordinating, I guess you'd say, between the Historical Society and us. I'm not real comfortable with that at all.
Go ahead.
I realize that it is a somewhat new idea, but I am paying attention to the many, many things I heard and saw over the last weeks. And I think that Landmarks has not had a chance to discuss it yet, but I have introduced this idea. But I'm trying to introduce something that is not trying to add or take away. I am just saying this natural. I heard comments that Landmarks was surprised that this was happening, the sale of the depot, and it is all, I know that everything was legal. I don't question the ethics. I am just asking you to think a little bit more broadly and naturally and inclusively. I'm not asking for more power. I am just asking that rather than form a new group for this railroad, we consider volunteering, but ultimately, wouldn't it make sense for Landmarks to be able to watch, guide, be a resource, offer information when there needs to be something like this? I agree that it follows all of the things. It needs to go to finance and all. But when it comes to our historic Stoughton, I just wanted to put out there, and I think that there'll be more information coming from people who are more well-versed in all of this than I, but could we exist and be an area to advocate and bring forth and help streamline? That is what I'm trying to get across.
Yeah, and I don't think you and I are going to agree on this one, quite honestly. Yeah, Landmarks might have been surprised, but they really don't have any role to play when the city decides to sell a building. Their interest is what becomes of the building if somebody were to do renovation on it, on the exterior only. And when I appoint people to be on the Landmarks, my expectation is they're on there because of their expertise on historical preservation on buildings. And I would prefer if they stay in that lane. If they start venturing outside of that lane, I don't think that is productive use of their time, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time that are on the committee, including staff members that have to be at those meetings, because when they're at a Landmarks meeting, that's less time they can spend working on their daily task in the office. So my preference is really for them to stick to their area of expertise. And quite frankly, that's the evaluation of the certificate of appropriateness, which I mentioned at the last meeting. I don't really think it's appropriate for groups like that they can do it as individuals, they can do whatever they want, okay? Whether it's the Landmarks or the RDA or anybody else, but they have a specific task that they're supposed to do. And I think our committees and our commissions work best when they stick to those tasks. And there's efficiencies to be gained, and we want to take advantage of people's expertise and, as I mentioned, respect their time. And when we start going off in other directions, I think it becomes distracting. And my experience is when we get distracted, some of the basic things that we're charged to do sometimes don't get done as efficiently, so I'm concerned about that. That's just my opinion. Certainly we can agree to disagree on that one, but I just caution that would occur, because that's not why I appoint people to those committees. I appoint them to work on the things that they're charged to do in our ordinances and in the state statutes, and partnering with an outside special interest isn't part of that, in my opinion.
thank you for letting me raise these points. I did so in the nature of inclusion, primarily, and positive communication, and yet know that I appreciate that detail and am awed by it when I attend those meetings. But there's also a place for advocacy and growth. And I'm putting that out there in this situation, and I hope the actions that I've taken have all been seen as respectful and trying to help resolve some very difficult dealings, all at the sake of growth.
I guess I just want to appreciate you for thinking outside the box and going forward. And I guess I came from a different perspective because I was at one of the meetings with the Historical Society, I think it was last week, and I was really impressed of how far they've gotten in a week's time. And I guess I don't want to have anything stymie their forward movingness. And so if anybody from the landmarks wants to be part of that, to make sure on their own time, to make sure that the articles are appropriately stored or moved, or if they need help sorting what's going to be sold at auction versus what's not, I think that's completely appropriate. But like the mayor, I don't want their forward motion to be stymied, and I don't want the Landmarks Commission to be overburdened that other community members are upset because their permits did not get looked at because of this. But I think, as you said, it should be inclusive, and it shouldn't necessarily have to go through a committee. That's just another layer of bureaucracy. And they seem to be very well organized and have a plan within the last 2 weeks, which I'm amazed at and highly impressed that they are really moving forward and are going to continue to keep the majority of our great artifacts and have a good plan that is going to be more open and inclusive, so more people can actually go visit the museum. So power to them, and may it all work out really, really quickly.
Thank you, Regina, and thank you for recognizing the role of landmarks, because we take great respect and consideration with all of permits and all, but I also appreciate you all listening to what I think is a greater issue as well. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts or comments on this one? Okay. The last item is a discussion and possible action regarding J.T. Klein increment financing request. We do have the ability to go into closed session, but as usual, I think we'll start an open session. We'll get an update from the city attorney, and we'll see where it takes us.
So the term sheet that's in the packet, so based on the closed session last time, I sent basically a counter proposal to J.T. Klein, and they responded with this document. The previous document basically had, I guess I'll just describe this current document. So what it does is basically, we don't have the exhibit yet, but there would have a proposed expense budget or construction budget and a proposed like financing or sources of income for the project. And they're saying the gap by that is going to be how we measure this. If we get additional financing that lowers that gap, the TIF incentive would be lowered by that amount. If we have costs that are cut that lowers that gap, it would be a lower TIF amount based on that. But in no circumstance would the TIF amount be lower than 50% of the 5.375 million. So they've changed it a little bit in that the previous way that it was structured was, okay, if you get more financing, you lower it, the TIF amount. If you cut your costs, we lower the TIF amount, and we're not going to put a floor on it. So by creating sort of like this gap analysis that's different than the Ellers analysis has been so far, and there I do have some comments about potential pitfalls on that, but that's sort of just the overview. So they took sort of the recommendations of the council and tried to convert it into a gap analysis with a 50% floor in the potential reduction of the TIF amount. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I think it might make sense to go into closed session just to discuss this a little further about how the change in structure affects the analysis and some recommendations from Ellers.
Any questions? Otherwise, would somebody like to read the language to go into closed session?
I can.
All right.
The Common Council may convene in closed session per state statute 19.85 sub 1 parent E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business. Whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, the Common Council may reconvene in an open session to discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in the closed session, and I so move.
There's a second? Second by Alderperson Hirsch. When you're ready, Candy, you can do a roll call vote.
Okay, Peyton,
All right.
Hirsch,
Aye.
let's see, Lagaki,
Yes.
Caravello,
Aye.
Sherlucky,
Aye.
Wozniak Scanlon,
Aye.
Jensen, Nino,
Aye.
Butler,
Aye.
Mayeski. That's 10 others in favor.
All right, we'll get into closed session and resume the conversation.